Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Coming up. It's nice to be alive. Okay, well, we'll pick up on that.
At 3 months old, I was chosen to become a Roman Catholic priest.
Who made that decision on your behalf?
I was fulfilling my definition. I was special because that's what I was told.
But didn't that go against the human condition?
All that was forbidden from me. I can still remember in my head the big door outside the college gates shutting.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast which opens the door on men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we have Seamus Corry. Seamus, welcome.
Thanks, Yinka. Nice to be here, mate, and thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I've had a busy week thus far, busy day, but yeah, it's nice to be alive, my brother. Nice to be alive, and I'm grateful for today, actually.
It's nice to be alive. Okay, well, we'll pick up on that in due course.
Yeah.
So for the benefits of our listeners, who is Seamus Corry?
Right now, in this moment, Seamus Corry is a father, grandfather, just turned godfather within the space of a couple of weeks ago. So I'm a proper Don now. So you can call me Don Corry if you like. You know, it works for me. In my business, I'm a wellbeing consultant. I'm a pastoral mentor. I'm a mental health practitioner. I live in Manchester, but I work throughout Scotland. I'm actually on the cast feed with you this evening. You know, just arrived in Scotland, just going to be doing a couple of days work with clients. So yeah, my life is good. I'm alive, and every day is a grateful day for me, Yinka.
Thank you, Seamus. Sorry, Don Corry.
Yeah, you can call me Don Corleone, but you know, it's close. It's not exact, but it's close.
Don Corleone it is then.
Don, mate, Don. Great.
So, obviously, by your dulcet tones, you say you're working in Manchester. You live up in Scotland, but your accent doesn't sound particularly Scottish.
No, my accent originally comes from the Republic of Ireland. I was born and grew up in the Republic of Ireland, and only came to the UK in 1996. My history and background before the UK was, you know, I don't want to take up the whole podcast by telling you my life story, but I will give you the summative version of it. And the summative version, Inca, is that at 3 months old, I was chosen to become a Roman Catholic priest, and I was coercively controlled into that life for 16 years of my life. I then went off to seminary at 16. I was exposed to the Catholic Taliban in the Catholic seminary system for the next 7 years, which was extremely bullying and extremely abusive. I was ordained in 1994. I woke up one morning in 1996 and I experienced what I described later as my first real mental health crisis. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to do what I was doing. I had lost my faith in everything. I had lost my faith in humanity, lost faith in myself, lost faith in the people around me, just basically didn't want to live. And I was in so much confusion, so much pain, so much frustration, so much anger. And it really overwhelmed me that to the extent that I decided that I was going to literally drive off the face of the planet. I got into my car, took to the open road. I was determined I wasn't coming back. I was determined I was just going to drive off a cliff or something. And I'll be honest, I don't know, but I wasn't driving that car that day. I don't know what happened. I can't remember the journey that I took. I had what you would call probably a traumatic blackout. I came to outside a friend's house. He got me some help. Finally got in contact with my family, got some help and support. Ended up in a debrief with the Catholic Church, which ended up in a resignation from the priesthood. I won't go into the details of that, but very quickly after that, I ended up homeless, houseless, familyless, communityless, friendless, and I found myself on a plane heading for Scotland, where I entered the UK in 1996 with not even a national insurance number. And I thought, if I experienced pain before, the pain of loss, the pain of immigration, the pain of losing all those people who were closest to me and around to me, was really horrific. And I had decided at that juncture, when I came to the UK, that I was planning to take my own life. And I had plans to climb a hill local to where I was living. I took a rope out. I knew the branch. The branch was fairly sturdy. I was determined, when it got quiet and when it got dark, I was going to throw the rope over tie the rope to the tree, throw the rope over the branch, and, take my own life. And just as I sat on the hill, it was a nice summer's evening, and just as I sat on the hill, I noticed that the sun was going down. It was one of those lovely summery sunsets with the red sky. It was absolutely beautiful. And I started crying, and I thought to myself, in a moment of peace or serenity, I thought to myself, well, if I do this evening, I'm not going to see another sunset like that. And I really would like to see another sunset. And some voice or something or some being inside my head just said, trust me. Just trust me. Those are the two words that I remember. And I don't know, it was my inner me. I don't know what it was, But I did. I came down off the hill, and I got on with my life. And my life has been a series of experiences up to that point, which resulted in me meeting somebody, falling in love, having 3 kids, making up for lost time, as you can appreciate. Yinka, being confined for 7 years, it was like a stallion loose on the world. But I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was about. And I suppose I've spent a lot of time finding out who I am and what I'm about.
Seamus, thank you for sharing what's in your hurt locker so readily, so quickly, for the benefit of our listeners.
Yeah.
And I'd like to come back, if you don't mind, to what you experienced there. But before then, you said after 3 months, the decision was made for you to go into...
Yeah, at 3 months old, I was chosen to become a priest.
Who made that decision on your behalf?
Yeah, my father.
Was your father a religious man?
He was profoundly Catholic, profoundly religious. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So before we go into that a little bit, tell me about growing up. Then tell me, did you have siblings, etc.?
I have 4 brothers and a sister. I have, I think, to my knowledge, 24 to 26 nieces and nephews. I grew up in a small Catholic family in rural Ireland. I grew up in a community of 900 people, and the pulse of the community, the pulse of that rural community was governed and moved by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church stood in the centre of the village, and it was very much at the centre of our life. We lived our life around service. We lived our life around church. We lived our life around service. So it became very apparent. My dad was an elder in the community and part of an eldership in the community, and he let it be known at a very early age for me that he had chosen that I was going to become a priest.
So, as you said right at the beginning, from 3 months.
Yeah, before I could walk, literally.
Before you can even gurgle, it's already decided for you.
Yeah.
And can I ask, what about your siblings? What was the path that lay ahead for them? Was that dictated to by your father?
No, just a normal path. Like, you have to understand that in Catholic communities at that time, one in every family would be chosen to become a priest or a nun. So, there was a saying in Ireland in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the early 90s that if you had a son a priest and a daughter a nun and a cow in the field, you were considered very wealthy, spiritually wealthy and physically wealthy. And this was very much the approach of Catholicism, and Catholic life in the Church in Ireland at that time. So every family member had to choose somebody, literally.
Sorry to cut across, Seamus, but that word, they had to. They had to choose. So what would happen if your father had not chosen one of his children to enter the priesthood?
It would fall on somebody else in the community to choose. Not necessarily my dad, but there would have to be a representative from the community. My dad got in there early and said, Seamus is going to be a priest. And that went around the community, that was registered, that was recorded, everybody knew, and fed into that narrative that I was going to be a priest.
Can I ask then, how was that for you growing up at the ages of, say, 5, at 10, at 15 even? How did that affect the relationships that you had with your siblings?
I'll be honest with you, Yinka, I was oblivious. I was absolutely oblivious. I had accepted that fully. I remember, catechism and going to primary school and and receiving the sacraments and being selected and almost given status in the community, that everybody in the community knew that I was a savior of my family. I was the savior of that community. I was the savior of my diocese. I was going to bring joy and peace and hope and all the gifts of spirituality to my family and all that. And my family were really blessed. And I accepted all that. I just accepted my lot. I was so conditioned from such an early age that as soon as I could think to myself or talk or communicate, I only had one plan, and that plan was to become a priest. That's what I saw myself. That's why I existed. That's what I came into the world for. No, as I grew up and as I grew older, particularly in my teenage years, I went off to secondary school, right, and I went off to mixed school, and as you would normally, as a boy growing up, you would have aspirations to maybe explore sexuality or explore relationships and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
All that was forbidden from me. And if I did,
go on. And I'm hearing it was forbidden, but didn't that go against the human condition?
It did. It did. It absolutely did. And to put it in a little bit of perspective for you, I had a relationship with a beautiful girl when I was in secondary school, and she was absolutely beautiful. And I won't name names, but if she ever listens to this podcast, she'll know who I'm talking about, her. And we had a lovely kind of relationship. It was never sexual. It was just hugs and holding hands. And she'd go through school and went on for about 6 months. Now, Yinka, she dropped me like a hot potato about 6 months into the friendship and relationship that I had with her. And I thought to myself, what was it me? Well, was it? And you think, was it something I said? Was it something I did? Was it something that happened? But there was nothing. I mean, she literally ghosted me. Ghosted me. And it wasn't until some years later I'd met her in social company, and I said, look, and I asked her outright, I said, what happened? What happened in secondary school? Why did you just dump me like that? Because I never fully recovered from that. Because I thought I was at fault, or I thought I did something, or something wasn't right, or relationships and me didn't really get on, and I had all this stuff going around in my head. So I asked her, I said, why did you dump me? She says, because your dad spoke to my mum and asked my mum to keep away from me, and I was going to be a priest, right? Hey,
I
that 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 just broke my heart.
I can tell, because I can see you visually, how emotionally upsetting that is, even now.
That just broke my heart. Sorry.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. Seamus, this is your hurt locker.
So yeah,
So you were none the wiser about this. She ghosted you. You're what, how old? 15, 16?
14,
14,
15,
okay,
yeah.
14. Okay. You're starting to understand what it's like to be a young adult, a young man, as it
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
All those normal, inquisitive, curious, physiological things that are
yeah,
occurring, that
yeah.
are happening, you know?
The normal stages of my sexual development were happening there. I was coming into my teenage years, as you would. And part of that is exploration and looking and finding out what works and what doesn't work. And,
Absolutely.
I didn't have any of that.
And so, just going back, just to ask, you mentioned about this, the status that you're afforded in the village,
Yeah,
population of 900. Everybody knows that you're set for, to become a priest, etc. Your
yeah.
relationship with your siblings, what was that like?
They, they just went off and did their own thing. I was pretty much. They had all very full careers, both sporting and in business. And just I turned 16 on the 7th of August. I left school in that June of 1987, after completing my finals. And yeah, by August, went through the necessary paperwork preparation, and on the 4th of September 1987, headed off to St. Patrick's College in Maynooth to begin my career, which was priesthood at 16.
So at 16, that path which has been chosen for you since the age of 3 months,
Yeah,
you start to walk it.
yeah.
Was there any element of trepidation there? Was there any element of, I'm not too sure about this? Or
No,
was it,
no. I was excited. I was,
you were excited?
yeah. I was fulfilling my role, right? I was fulfilling my definition, who I came into this world to be. Right? I was a superhero. It was like, this Marvel character finding out he had this great superpower. My superpower was, hey, I had a vocation. Yeah, I got called by God because that's what I was told. I was special because that's what I was told. I was different because that's what I was told, right?
How were those early years for you?
Absolutely. In seminary life,
Yeah.
absolutely awful. Almost from the get go. And I remember my parents leaving. My parents came, and there was a kind of coffee evening, and they got to meet the president and the top tier and the leadership, and it was all fantastic, right? As soon as the parents left, I can still remember in my head the big door outside the college gates shutting. It was cloister. If you look at a picture of the college, it has this big cloister and it has these old medieval doors, and these were shut and they were banged shut, and the locks came down. I remember hearing that, and that sound has never left me because as soon as that door shut, it was a different it was a different kettle of fish.
Did your gut instinct tell you, uh-oh?
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing that happened, I don't want to use the analogy of the Jewish community that went off to Auschwitz because that's too terrible. But when they went off to Auschwitz and they got all their belongings separated and they found themselves all segregated and,
Yeah.
stripped down. We had all this stuff brought from our home, which was mementos and ornaments and gifts and all that. We got all that taken away. It was all locked away for a month.
For a month.
Yeah, we were stripped back. We were stripped back to the core
And what was the purpose of doing that?
to to break us down, mentally break us down, mentally remove us from everything that was comfortable.
So I'm assuming it wasn't just you, there was a few other people there.
What me and 120 other new, fresh seminarians joined with me on that first day.
So didn't you look at each other wondering, WTF, what's going on here?
Do you know, we were, it was weird, right? Within 24 hours, the first people started leaving. The guys who come in the door on Sunday left on the Monday. Some left. So there were spaces where pews should be. There were spaces where seats should be. And then it started like that and it continued like that. Now, imagine putting yourself in the position where you've built yourself up to I can't question this. I can't question this because to question it really would indicate that I've got a problem with it. And I can't when I was with the other students within 24 hours after get everything stripped away, I remember our first night we were taken up to this top floor of this building and it has a sink in it, Inca. It had no hot water. It was one of those old Victorian beds, one of these beds with the tin mattresses in it. Like
Yes.
there was hay or straw in it. It wasn't home from home. It wasn't comfort from comfort. The room was freezing. It looked like we were just taken back to the Middle Ages. Really, that's what the room looked like. There was a mirror on the wall. We sink, no hot one and water. We use communal toilet, communal showers. I'd never been away from home before. Never been away from home. So that was a shock. I still remember going to sleep that first night and hearing guys crying in the next door rooms because the rooms were paper thin.
And that was the question I was going to ask you. Weren't you struck by fear, or what emotions that first night, that first week? How
It was
was it
like
for you?
it was shock. I mean, it was shock, fear. It was what the fuck is going on? We were up the next morning at 6 a.m. 16-year-old up at 6 a.m. down for prayers and practicing all that and getting into the rhythm. And there was a series of talks and lectures and bombardments around every aspect of what your new religious life was going to be like. And I equate it to a boot camp for Marines, right? In Marines where your head shaved and everything's straight back, and you've got the marshals who are shouting at you, and if you don't fucking like it, well then leave. If you don't fucking like it, well then leave. these religious guys, this is what they were saying to us. If you don't like it, well, leave. But you know what you're going to get when you go outside the gate, right?
What was that?
Rejection. Rejection. You're going to be rejected. You're going to be a black sheep. You know, the church wouldn't want you. The family wouldn't want you. Your community wouldn't want you. What are you going to do? What the fuck are you going to do?
And did all use less than 120 16-year-old males know this then? That this was going to happen if you stepped outside of those gates?
Yeah. Absolutely. For the first 2 years, we knew that. We knew that. We knew that clearly. And but that didn't stop some guys going. That didn't stop, you know, the lucky ones going to saying, fuck this, I'm away. I'm not putting up with this shit. I'll take whatever comes.
Were you envious of those ones who fucked off?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I absolutely was. And it was like, Jesus, you've got balls, mate. You've got bottom. But I was too scared to do it myself because I knew what I was going to get. I knew what I was going to get. So it was either put up or shut up. Either put up or shut up. Put up with it. Put up with it all. Put your head down, get on with it, survive.
Because what I'm trying to get my head around is the fact that for those 2 years, you knew that if you stepped outside of those gates, the church would no longer want you.
No.
Your family wouldn't want you.
No.
The village where you grew up wouldn't want you.
No.
That feels so burdensome.
Yeah.
And that, in all intents and purposes, you were trapped.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, trapped like a fucking rabbit in a set of headlights, right? The headlights being the Catholic Church, with nowhere to turn. Nowhere to turn. Don't get me wrong. I did try leaving after 2 years, and I thought I'd had enough. I came home to my family, said I have enough. I'm going to go away and do something else. And you know, my dad wouldn't speak to me for 6 months. My stuff never came in, you know, from the shed where it was piled when I brought home. You know, there was that whole, you know, you're obviously you're going to go back. It's just a question of when you're going to go back. And there was that whole downward pressure put on me in terms of, you know, making a decision to go back. And, you know, afterwards, I said, well, fuck this. Because, sorry for swearing, but at the end of the day, I was going to prove to people that I shouldn't be a priest. So what did I do? What did I do, Yinka? Rather than going to the National Seminary, I went to the toughest seminary there was in Ireland at that time. I went to the toughest one. I went to the Marine Corps, man. I went to the core of the toughest seminary system in Ireland. And at that time, it was St. Patrick's College in Thurles. Now, this place got a reputation. This place either made you or broke you. It's as simple as that.
Why did you choose? Why did you opt for that place? Did you opt for it yourself?
I asked for it. I asked my bishop to send me there, right? Because I wanted to prove, first and foremost, A, that I didn't have a vocation, and B, what they were talking about was a load of shit. Because I had my eyes opened in Maynooth, and I had my eyes opened, and I began to question stuff. And I thought to myself, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I am wrong, right? Maybe I need an independent other person to tell me, yeah, look, you're absolutely right. You don't have a vocation. Fuck off and do something else with your life. So that's why I went to Thurles. The hardest, toughest regime that there was at that particular time. You know, shaved heads, cassock, the whole 9 yards, wear black everywhere. Let yourself be identified what you are. You're our bitch, and you know, we're going to treat you as such.
And so you do 2 years there, then what? This must be around 1998, yes?
Yeah, I did 2 years. I did 2 years in Maynooth. You know, I did my philosophy. I came home that summer. I told my family and my dad I wasn't going back. Dad didn't speak to me for 6 months. And I said, fuck this. I'm not having silent treatment the whole year. I'm not having my family look as if I'm weird. So I decided about following May or June of that year, I was going to go back, but I wanted to go back to the toughest seminary that there was, and I did. In September the 6th, 1990, I went into St. Patrick's College in Thurles, and my intention was, I thought I was going to be out by Christmas.
Sounds like what they used to say about the Great War. We'll all be home by Christmas.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be home by Christmas. These guys, I thought, were just going to see through me for what I was. I was going to play the best that I could, but at the end of the day, I knew in my heart that I didn't have it. So I just played the game, put my head down, and just 1 month went into another month, Came home that Christmas, I wasn't kicked out. And then I said, Yinka, you know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I do have a vocation. Maybe I was completely ass about face about it. Maybe my family, my dad, the community, you know, maybe I did have a calling, and let's begin to take this seriously. I began to believe the narrative in my head.
Were you kidding yourself?
Yeah, maybe I was. Maybe I was, my brother. Maybe I was still in survival mode. I certainly wasn't in thriving mode. So I went through year on year, 4 years of theology in that seminary. And then the year before I left, one of my friends took his own life.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Did you have any indication
No.
that he felt like that?
No, we all sat together the night before. We all watched TV together the night before. We all had, you know, a laugh the night before. Knew nothing, and then we all went off to our respective rooms, off to bed, and somewhere between 11:45 on Saturday night and 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. Yeah. Sorry.
Seamus, you've got nothing to apologise for, honestly.
Sorry. Yeah. Michael took his own life. Yeah.
And that's got so many implications in of itself, because suicide is classed as sin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did the seminary deal with that?
They went in a free fall. They never had it. They never had that experience. They never had anybody within the walls who had taken their own life before. We were all kind of offered counselling, and we were surrounded by counsellors. And
I was going to ask about that pastoral care and support.
we just had to get through it. Michael was given full, as they say, military honours in terms of his burial. He was, you know, he got the full requiem mass.
Why, can I ask why that was?
The church, I think, had felt a responsibility towards Michael. They certainly had a duty of care that they failed in miserably towards Michael and his family. And I suppose it was their way of saying that they were sorry, really.
And how was it for the rest of you as students then?
Horrible.
In response to that, towards the seminary?
We couldn't wait to leave the place. You couldn't wait to leave it. I couldn't wait to be ordained. I couldn't wait to leave. I couldn't wait to get out of there. Couldn't wait to get out of there. I ran to the altar on the 11th of June 1994 and got the Archbishop to put his hands on my head and ordain me priest so I could move on with my life and get out of there. Just leave that place. Leave that place of pain.
Place of pain.
Yeah, I've been surrounded by places of pain. Ireland is a place of pain. Seminary was a place of pain.
What does that do to you as a young man who's gone through the seminary, who's undertaken theologian studies, who's looked at religion, etc., etc. What does that do to somebody? Where does your faith even come from?
I don't think I even had one, Yinka, to be honest. If I'm honest with you, I don't think I had one. My plan was after Michael sadly died was just to survive, just to. I was still in shock. I was traumatized. I was still in shock.
Absolutely.
I didn't get a chance to talk about it. I didn't get a chance to open up about it. I didn't get a chance to say how I felt about it.
Despite all those counselors around you.
They didn't want to. They didn't want to know. They didn't want to know. Yinka. They didn't want to know. So I just carried it. I just carried it. Just like another bag. I just carried it. I just carried it. Just carried it with me. And all the while it was just processing away and processing away and processing away. Layer upon layer. So you can see the layers of trauma just building on one another.
Absolutely.
Just waiting for
Somebody
yeah,
just to burst that bubble and for it to
yeah,
all explode,
yeah,
burst out.
yeah. And it did. And when it did, it came out in a way that I came out in a way that I didn't expect. Um, so I moved as I say after having my mental health crisis in 1996.
Let me just, sorry, Seamus, let me just go back. So you're ordained as a priest in 1994.
Yeah, the 11th of June 1994 at 2
It,
p.m. in the afternoon.
it's so remarkable. Every day you've got etched in your brain
Yeah,
times and everything.
yeah. 300 priests, 314 priests, 14 bishops, an archbishop, and 2,500 people in the cathedral watched, including my own family, watching me becoming a priest.
So you've become a priest, and what next? Where do you go to? Where are you sent to?
I went home first of all to celebrate my ordination.
Did you
And
celebrate? What did that look like?
we celebrated. That was the whole parish, the whole population, the whole community. I think even some of my ancestors rose from the dead just to be present in that church that evening, watching me celebrate my first mass. It was a terrible, poignant moment for me. Um, I was surrounded by my family and friends. If I look at myself back then, I was probably the loneliest person there, though.
Well, the word that comes up for me was conflicted.
Yeah, really conflicted. I didn't really realize how conflicted I was, but I was really conflicted. Within a short space of time after my first mass, and I was put into active ministry. I was given my first parish, and off I went.
But your what, particularly your dad must have been what, proud of you?
Yeah, he was really proud. He'd achieved his life's ambition, didn't he? He was
He'd
able to.
achieved his life's ambition, not
Yeah,
yours.
yeah, yeah. He showed me off as a prize pig, didn't he?
What's your emotions thinking about that now?
I've processed it a lot. Um, I had to get, as you can appreciate, I mean, this podcast isn't long enough to tell you the amount of therapy that I had and the amount of treatment that I've had to process it. And when I think about it now, I understand the reasons. I understand the reasons my dad did what he did.
Okay, but that's not the question I asked you. I asked you about you.
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did.
Don Corry only. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah. Conflicted, definitely. Confused, frustrated, angry, grieving, shocked, traumatized, sad, lonely, insecure, not confident, broken.
Broken, did you say?
Yeah, broken.
Was there anybody at this time that you could have shared your feelings, your emotions with?
Oh no. Too busy. Too busy relishing in the light of my ordination to really ask me how I was doing. Don't think anybody asked me how I was doing.
What about your mum?
Not really, no. Not really. My dad ran a very patriarchal kind of household. So
Okay, okay. But do you think your mum could read between the lines?
my mum knew. My
She
mum knew
knew,
in her
didn't she?
she knew in her heart. She knew her boy was suffering.
I'm
She
just
knew.
my head's just hung down.
And as I was suffering, she was suffering. Yeah, she was. 'Cause she knew. She knew. She knew.
Did you ever talk, you and your mum?
Later we did. Later we had many conversations later, but at the time, no. At the time, no.
And what about your siblings? Did
No.
they ever become aware?
Never.
Only
No, never. Only when
afterwards?
the proverbial shit hit the fan, it all came out and sorry, terrible mess. Yeah. When you're in that much pain, Inca, you know, you make decisions and you live your life in survival mode and you're not really thinking about tomorrow. You're just thinking about getting through today, aren't you? And that's certainly why I was. And eventually you just run out of pep. You just run out of energy. You just don't want to do it anymore.
So you used the phrase the shit hitting the fan. You've been a priest for 2 years and then the shit hits the fan. What
Yeah,
what was the catalyst? What broke the bow?
to put it in a nutshell, um, I had a relationship.
Okay, for the benefit of those who aren't religiously informed, tell me the significance of this.
I took a vow of celibacy on my ordination day to remain celibate, vis-a-vis no sexual activity, no relationships, nothing. I promised I was going to remain loyal to the cause, as it were, and never take a wife, never take a girlfriend, never have any sexual intercourse of any kind. I was going to be 100% celibate.
And at what age did you take that vow?
At 23 years of age.
At 20, at 23 years of age.
Yeah.
Did you even consider, even then at 23, what am I doing here?
No, I just wanted to get out, didn't I? So I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. I'll take whatever promises you want me to take. Just wanted to get as one shepherd said to the other, let's get the flock out of here. And that's what I wanted to do. Just get the flock out of here. I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. Just get me the fuck out of here, really.
And so you've got your own parish.
I have, yeah. I'm in a place of authority now. I'm a curate, which is the first sign of, the first title that you get. I've got command of, maybe 1,200 people. 4 churches to look after.
So
And
you're busy.
I'm busy. I'm really busy, and keep myself busy. Still can't sleep at night. Find it very difficult to sleep. The house I was living in was something that was built. Tom built the house. Tom, the builder, who was never a builder. The house is literally sinking into the ground. So if you lay down on my front hall, on my house, and looked out the front door, it was like that. You could still see out the front door with the front door shut. The water was brown. The electrics were terrible. I mean, this was the fucking 1990s, right?
Whoa.
And this seemed like the fucking Middle Ages. Honestly, I was expecting to go out the backyard and see a donkey moving around the circle, just pumping the water into the house.
A bit like Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, just you know what I mean? That's what it was in a real mountainous rural community. And the people were wonderful. The people were wonderful, and and they looked after me as best I could, and but I was just so lonely. I was just so lonely. I was just so very lonely, and felt so very isolated and alone and suffering, and I was
And,
doing all that in silence.
and so you're smitten by a parishioner?
Yeah, yeah, I was. I won't go into the details.
No. Don't
Yeah,
need to. Don't need
but,
to.
but I was.
But that must have brought straight away. You must have thought, crap, my vows.
Yeah, and then honestly, to talk about split personality, it was literally my brain was going off in two halves. Half of me was this priest, and half of me was this other guy. And neither the twain shall meet. It felt my whole brain was going off in two different directions, and I was wondering what the fuck was happening. So I was trying to keep it together, and at the same time, um, express how I was feeling, and it started off as friendship and ended up in it ended up
Yeah.
in a sexual relationship, and I was young and inexperienced, had no experience of relationships before.
So that in of itself was the straw that broke the camel's back. And is this what led you to contemplate suicide?
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. Not quite.
That's the end of part 1 of Seamus's Hurt Locker story. Join us for part 2 very soon.
The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.